a sluggo, slant and go.
It's called sluggo.
Zach Locks Parker. It's Wednesday night, and usually this is where I say hi to the beef. The beef is on the road tonight, so at least that's what we're telling everybody. Unofficially, but officially, I'm announcing something along the bottom of the screen. I had to suspend the beef from the show for a violation of show policy. It has to do with his, I think he's 8-19 on the show or something like that in picks, or something horrendous. He's under 30%, and I don't know if he looked at his contract recently, but it does say you have to make at least 30% on your bets. And here's the bad thing: he's 8-18, but he had a 3-0 week.
So, that's what I was thinking to myself. I mean,
in the other weeks.
Yeah, policies, you can't break show policy, and we're here to uphold all the laws, especially in Sluggo world with the Sluggo Bucks. I mean, your record is better than his, isn't it, Marty?
Hey, I'm catching up to you, or I think you're coming back to me.
I'm coming down to earth. I think it's the real deal.
10, 15, and 2, and you're I think 15-10 now. 15-12.
Yeah, and I got you by about $9,000 still. So
yeah,
we got some work to do still.
Good point, because that's why this show is called "Timing Is Everything." Because if I'd have gone 3-0, if I'd have gone 3-0 second or third week of the season, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. Sylvester, right. Good to see you, Sylvester. 2 weeks off, can't make it here on time. We had to hold beef to the. To the show standards. Stop making fun of me.
There's more to come.
This whole show is gonna be about you, beef. Isn't Marty out of Sluggo Bucks? Au contraire. I'm 3-0. I have not had to go to the. I was 3-0 last week. Didn't have to go to the bank of locks yet, but we'll figure that out.
Things are looking up. Things are looking up. We're not going to have to do the loans, it looks like, anymore. So we're
not until at least week 11. So we'll see how this week goes. All right. You know it. Hey, I don't know if you know this, Locks, but actually I do know, because you texted last night when Michigan got left out. But the college football playoff rankings were announced last night. Tennessee, Ohio State, Georgia, and despite Reese Davis saying, well, now we know Clemson's number 5. Yep. They actually were number 4. By the way, he's an Alabama alum. And Alabama was below Clemson. I think the biggest shot for me is not Clemson at 4, but maybe LSU at number 10 and Florida State unranked. And, of course, Texas. They're back. They're in the top 25 with 3 losses. What was your takeaway from the rankings reveal last night?
I had 2 big ones, and one I'm sure you've thought of or you heard them talk about, which I'll get to. But one thing I felt like seeing TCU, were they 7 below Alabama?
Yes.
It felt like, say, the top 3 surprised me. I thought Georgia was going to be 1. I think the way that they ranked it, Tennessee, Ohio State, Georgia, felt to me almost like maybe for once they're using the eye test of, I think Tennessee could beat Ohio State could beat Georgia, going down that way, especially when it came, Michigan's going to work itself out. But I think those top 3, I don't think really much matters, right. And that kind of goes into the next scenario that I think all Clemson fans are scared of. We're all huge Tennessee fans. We want them to win this week to knock Georgia out of this thing, because if Georgia wins and they play Alabama in the SEC championship, Alabama wins, then we could seriously have a scenario where 3 SEC teams could really have a push to get in this thing. So that would leave Clemson out in the cold, unfortunately, I believe, because the Big Ten would get in probably over us. So, OUT? It's hard to say.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that. Nelson was talking to me about, first of all, Sylvester says Alabama and TCU should be swapped. I think a lot of people agree with that.
Agreed.
I'm probably one of them. Nelson and I were talking about this last week, and I just don't see Clemson getting left out if they're 13-0.
Yeah.
If you put 3 SEC teams in there and leave out an undefeated Power 5 conference champion, why are we playing the games? What's the point? I mean, I'm not saying it couldn't happen. It's the SEC. Anything could happen.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
But I don't even know what I would think about just college football in general, specifically because obviously we're Clemson guys. But just college football in general, like I said, why even play the games if you win them all and you're in a Power 5 conference and you don't get to go to the playoff? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But
yeah, I agree. These things, we're at week 10. These things tend to work themselves out.
They do.
They really do. Just everybody take a breath. But it's still kind of fun talking about all the scenarios out there. But yeah, I mean, someone will slip up. It's just a matter of who.
Right. TCU still got to play Texas.
Sure.
And, Ohio State and Michigan play each other. Georgia and Tennessee obviously play each other. So, I think it's all going to work out. It always does. But if this is the year, even if it's not Clemson, obviously I'll be more outraged if it is Clemson. But even if it's not, if you leave out TCU, I guess, if they're 13-0 and Clemson's 13-0, I mean, it'll be hard to justify, and I think a lot of fans across the nation, fans will be happy, but everybody else is not going to be happy. So
yeah, it'll be fun to see. So, but yeah, these are the real rankings. Finally, no more AP poll to even look at anymore, right?
Yeah, and here's what I told Nelson. This is a TV product. This is how I see it. They're all TV products until the final one, right?
Yeah.
They're setting this up to make the drama, and it's going to swap this week.
Yeah.
It's got to, because Georgia and Tennessee, somebody's going to lose that game, right? Yep. It's got to swap out. So they're just setting this up to add drama next week and next week and next week. There's still 6 undefeated teams. You have a good point, but we know at least two are going to go down. We know TCU still got to play Texas and Baylor.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it'll work itself out. I'm not worried about it. But Casey is apparently. If TCU goes undefeated, same should happen with them. Yes, I agree, Case. I agree, Beef. We are allowing Casey in the comments, but he cannot be on the show until he gets about 30%.
That's right. No speaking. No mouth. No mouth speaking. Only typing while driving.
Sylvester says TCU's resume would be better than Georgia. Is that true, Zach? Do you think?
A lot more ranked opponents. They've beaten 4 so far. Also, obviously Texas, if they could beat them with their massive ranking. And who knows? Do they have a title game? Yeah, they would have probably a title game too. So, yeah, agreed. But I think that also, where they have TCU ranked, the playoff committee is thinking anybody above them is going to stomp TCU. So why are we even going to put them top 4? Because they don't play defense. So,
Well, I've heard the same thing about Clemson, that Clemson's going to get in and lose by 50. When has Clemson ever lost a playoff game by 50? Even the LSU game, they led into the third quarter, I believe. Mm-hmm. It just didn't end well. And this comment here, we were going to play E2 Schmoes, but then Casey said he was going to be on, and then I quit. I quit preparing. I quit researching anything, but I was going to have a joke or two about new coaches, and I think he went to Seton Hall Prep, Cincinnati. Not this year. No. Not this year. Cincinnati, not this year. All right, Locks, let's get to our agenda here. What do we got?
Sure.
This week, Tennessee is at Georgia. It's now an 8-point line the last I saw. I don't know if you've seen anything since then. Yeah. And Alabama and LSU Alabama's 13.5-point favorite over the number 10 team in the country. We got picks on. I know we got picks on Tennessee and Georgia. All three of us do.
Yep.
Nobody's got a pick on Alabama, LSU. Let's start out with that game. What do you think about that one?
It's in the it's not the swamp. It's in Death Valley, which will probably be a swamp with all the drunks down there. It's going to be a wild game. This is, if you look at LSU's schedule, what they have left, they have A&M left, which what's that matter anymore? This is their Super Bowl, and they get them at night and they get them at home. I would favor LSU in the year to keep it close. And who knows that if that Alabama defense doesn't want to play, LSU's pulling it together. They look a lot better, but I expect this to be closer than 13.5 points personally.
Well, we know Alabama's vulnerable. They almost lost to
Sure.
Texas,
Yep.
and they did lose to Tennessee. Two close games, could have gone either way. It could have been 2-0, 1-1, or 0-2. So we know they're vulnerable. Their defense is, and Sylvester says LSU is going to win. LSU night game at home, they could win. Nelson went back to TCU, or I'm sorry, Nelson, I didn't see your comment earlier. TCU has 2 ranked wins. Ranked in the AP at the time they played doesn't count. Well, that's terrible news for Clemson.
Yeah.
Because NC State had no. Oh, well, I guess their quarterback did better against in the last game than he did in the previous one.
It came in,
When
yeah.
Didn't throw a pass at all, I think. Let's see. John Chancey says Bama tends not to show up on the road. Certainly found that out in Austin, Mr. Chancey.
Yep.
Any thoughts? I know you've got a bet on the over on the Tennessee-Georgia, but and Casey and I went opposite ways on this game. What do you think is going to happen as an impartial observer compared to Casey and I? Whose side are you on in that bet?
Well, I think I have the safest bet out of the three of us with the over, and I have a feeling that this is, everybody still can think of the Alabama-Tennessee game. I think this is like Alabama-Tennessee Part 2, and Tennessee's involved in both of them. I think it's going to be high-scoring affair. I didn't think about it really until last night, and I was talking to some Georgia fans at my office today. All their games are must-win, just like Clemson's, but this really is must-win. It is not must-win for Tennessee, even though they are ranked number 1. I actually have a Tennessee fan in my office too, and a huge Tennessee guy, and he said he felt like that put pressure on them. I said, but not really. You can lose and still get away with it, because you have the win over Alabama. So I feel like Georgia has to win. I feel like Georgia. I don't know if Georgia's going to win. I don't know. I mean, that's why I stayed away from it. I mean, to me, I feel like they will find a way to pull it off at home as long as their defensive backs show up. You cannot get burnt by those speedsters on the outside. I still don't know his name. Number 11 from Tennessee still pulled it off again last week. I had bets against him. That's why I'm no longer betting. It's amazing how he just will burn a defensive back. They have some great play calls for him and all the wide receivers. It's going to be exciting. I really think that over-under line at 65.5 is just too low, though. It's going to be a fun one to watch.
I kind of had the same feeling as you. That's why I just took the points. I thought 9 was too much. I could see it be 7, 3, 6, somewhere in there. I just thought 9 was too much, so I took that. Just took the points. John Sanchez says it doesn't sound like Florida State is too far away from getting ranked if they keep winning. I believe they play Miami this weekend, don't they?
I think you're right.
So that would theoretically be another win for.
Is that on TV? I mean, how far are we falling? That used to be a big game,
It might be the famous ESPN3
plus.
Georgia. Yes, Georgia did lose a defensive starter, didn't they?
He tore his pectoral muscle. That had to have been awful. Yeah, Nolan Smith, very good player too. He came back this year, so really disappointing for him. But it's like all these top tier teams, just plug and play. Here comes a 4-star in a spot that I'm sure is up to par. Doesn't have to learn the playbook. We don't have to worry about that this time of the season. So they'll be okay.
They'll be okay. And Casey points out his name is Jalen Hyatt. You'll probably remember that when the Heisman Trophy comes out.
Yes.
I think he's replying to John Chansey. Florida State is playing much better.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's talk a little bit about Clemson and Notre Dame. We obviously got Clemson fans on the line here, and I'm sure Palk and his friends are listening to see what we got to say about Clemson and Notre Dame. Beef's got a pick on this game. Neither you nor I picked it for this show. I did pick it for rubbingtherock.com. That's rubbingtherock.com, which will come out tomorrow. What's your take on this game? Is Clemson and Notre Dame? We picked it at 4.5 for this show and for rubbingtherock.com. Has since gone down to 3.5, which is kind of closer to where I thought it was going to be earlier in the week, which it jumped from 3.5 to 4.5.
Mm-hmm.
What's your thoughts on the Clemson Notre Dame battle on Saturday on NBC? By the way, so that should be fun listening to that.
Yeah. Now, we're lucky at least it doesn't start at the vaunted 2:30 time slot like Notre Dame. Only Notre Dame gets because they're Notre Dame. Excuse me. I've had this game circled for a while. I don't like traveling to Notre Dame. I don't know if anyone's looked at the forecast. People that are degenerate gamblers do. So it's 60% chance of rain, 20 to 30 mile per hour winds with 40 mile per hour gusts. That points to me like a whole lot of running the ball going on. Notre Dame does it just as well as Clemson, believe it or not. Everybody knows about the 5 tight end set that Notre Dame will run from time to time. They got some big players too. I think the defensive line Clemson is going to be the difference. It's going to be a low scoring affair. Don't look for some exciting pass plays in this one, I'm afraid, with gusty winds and 2 quarterbacks that are like Jekyll and Hyde too. Drew Pines looked great at a few games this year, but look at Stanford. I think he threw the ball 14 times or something like that. Looked miserable. So big running game, not a lot of field goals either. So I got Clemson by 3. I think it's going to be tight. I really do.
Very close to that. Close to that on my prediction on rubbingtherock.com. I also took the under. I looked at the forecast Sunday and it looked beautiful and like a high of 72 or something. I was like, oh, that's cool. But as the week went on, I saw the rain come in and I didn't notice the wind. So you've obviously got a better weather app than I have. So I went, what did I do? I went under.
Mm-hmm.
I went under thinking it wasn't 24-21 type game. Clemson.
I think that's fair.
I think Clemson's a little bit better. I don't know what the home crowd's going to be because remember when DJ played there last time, there's 11,000 people there, not how many ever fits in Notre Dame Stadium.
It's pretty big, it's a big bowl, so that was COVID. That's right.
So let's think about this. When they played in Clemson in 2015, there was a torrential rainstorm that
I was there for that one.
Only happened on apparently on the Notre Dame side in 2015.
Clearly.
Notre Dame side. And this year, maybe it only rained on the Clemson side. I think it's going to be a close game. I think Notre Dame has a very good chance of winning this game. And it all depends, I was going to say, on how DJ plays, but now you worry me about fumbles returned for touchdowns, which, we went 7 games without seeing that.
And then what happened to that average? You were like way up there.
Just horrible and just terrible play. But I think Notre Dame has a chance to win. I am worried about Michael Mayer catching like 14 passes because Clemson has troubles with the tight ends anyway, and he's probably the best one or one of the best in the nation.
Very good. He's a load too to bring down once he gets the ball. So it's going to be tighter than I want, and I'm not excited to have to wait until 7:30. I'll be pacing all day probably, waiting for this one. I've said before in the show, big Notre Dame family too.
Yes.
Just my one cousin and I are the Clemson guys, and I think I have 7 other relatives that graduated from Notre Dame. So my phone will be chiming all day.
All right. We got a comment from Jason Priest. Good to see you, JP. Clemson wins out. They're getting in no matter how many ranked wins. I agree with that. John Chansey says, oops, Marty is posting about our side chat. Yes, it's hilarious. That's what I was pointing out, that our fans are now yelling at each other. Indiana is playing better football. They could mess up and see themselves beating Michigan. Not great football. Okay. Illinois. So I was like, what?
Illinois. I was like, yeah,
I thought
Illinois is playing
Sylvester.
better. Yeah.
I thought Sylvester was in the juice already. Those blue cans won't drink themselves. Plus, you've got the big SEC game at 2:30. Locks. Don't tell me you're holding off till 6:30 or 7:30. I guess your time.
Yeah, man. We want to have a memorable Saturday.
He wants to remember what happened Saturday. Okay, let me get the. Here I am being such a good host here. We promised a short show tonight because, as we were saying before, I need to go watch a pitiful. Well, it's not working. A pitiful World Series game. JP, it's good to see you. What do I want? I want this.
Don't think you could have done any worse if you tried.
Well, I take that as a victory.
These guys aren't doing research, so why should I? Beef, you stink the most.
A true believer in what they're doing in North Carolina. That's why I'm picking Virginia Tech, Tennessee.
I love Spencer Rattler.
I agree with Marty.
I don't like this.
Look, you smell it, the backdoor cover.
I still love Spencer Rattler. 5 touchdowns and 9 interceptions, I believe, is what he has. And South Carolina fans laughed at DJ Uiagalelei last year for 9 touchdowns and 10 interceptions, I believe it was. But he's having an even worse year. So that's
suddenly that A&M win at home doesn't look so good when you follow that up with a loss to Missouri.
Oof. Yeah. Don't laugh at Missouri, though. Somebody picked them this week. We'll find out shortly.
I forgot.
All right. Despite my 3-0 week last week, I'm still behind in dollars. As we'll see at the end of this, a little bit behind. I'm catching up. I'm reeling Zach in. Did I mention I was 3-0 last week?
Yeah, a couple times. Just checking. I think we're at like 36 times.
Just checking to make sure everybody knows I was 3-0 last week. Let's see. We got a new commenter here. Rob Miranda Knight. People are getting mad when we talk about Clemson ESPN media, but even Dabo says they not know where nowhere near. I think he means nowhere near.
Yeah, okay. Nowhere near they'd be.
Yeah. Okay. Go Cox. Aha. Rattler. Okay, since I have the worst record or the least amount of money, I don't have the worst record. That belongs to Beef. That's why Beef has been suspended from the show until he gets some more wins. Tennessee-Georgia. We talked about this a little bit earlier. I just think 9's too much. I got it at 9. Casey got it at a little less, but we're going on opposite sides here. And I got like $992, right? Could you give me my total?
Stand by. You have $922.75 to be exact.
$922.75. Thank you for that, Locks. I'm going to take Tennessee plus 9 for $222.75. See what I'm doing there?
Figure that up. I like that. All right. I see where your head's at.
Yes, no doubt there. Beef is taking the opposite side of this game. He's in our comments. He's not allowed on the show till he wins some games. I hope this is not one of them. Hope he wins the other 2, just not this one. Beef is taking
Georgia.
Yes, he's taking Georgia minus 8.5. He got it at a different time, a little bit better number. So Beef is taking Georgia minus 8.5 for 250 sluggo bucks. Locks, your first pick.
I'll go ahead and just stick with that same game. Like I said earlier, you Tennessee and Georgia over 65.5. I think it's crazy. I think 65.5 should be more like 75.5. Honestly, wow. I mean, I have it like I think 45, 48. It's going to be a tight one. It's going to be part 2, like I said earlier. It's going to be a fun one to watch. I'm really looking forward to it. But you can put me down for the over for $1,000.
I love it. He's not going cheap, at least not on the first one.
No, I want to hear it from none of you. So you're still out here betting.
You are certainly confident in that. Could you have imagined about 5 years ago a Georgia-Tennessee game being over 75?
No. It'd be like Clemson, 44.
Yeah.
Probably,
Yeah, just last year, Clemson and Georgia were 10-3.
Yeah.
And now it's crazy. It seems like 5 years ago or something. Okay, my second bet is going to be, so I got $700 left.
Yep.
My second bet is going to be Texas -1. Look, they're a fraud. They're 5-3, and they shouldn't be in the playoff rankings. But They're a fraud with some athletes, much better athletes than Kansas State. Are they as well coached as Kansas State? No. They're playing at Kansas State? Yeah. They got Quinn Ewers. They got about 5 receivers. But you know what they got in the backfield? Bijan Robinson.
Yeah.
And he not only helps me on the prize picks, but he helps me in this instance too. They're only -1. I think Texas is going to win the game. I really took it because of the point spread, just thinking they really need a win to go 6-3 and justify that. Probably be in the top 10. By the way, Bill, what's his name? Nelson will tell. Bill Connolly, who does the SP Plus, still has them in the top 10. I think he's got them at number 6. I mean, they won 5 games. It's only November the 2nd. So anyway, I'm going to take Texas -1 for my second pick, and I am going to put 700. I'll put 200 on Texas. Don't really trust them, but
it's a tough one. Kansas State's playing well too. So at Kansas State, like you said, but there's a lot of athletes out there. I think that's probably why they're getting their ranking. People see what they could be, but that shouldn't factor into the rankings.
No, it shouldn't. They see their quarterback, who's probably going to be really good next year.
Yeah.
But he had a bad game too. I bet on him against Oklahoma State and lost some sluggo bucks because he didn't have his usual game or the games he's had.
That's right.
So that's going to leave me 500 for the final game. We'll see. All right, Casey's second bet. He takes Wake Forest -5. I looked at this game, but I think Wake will bounce back, but I wasn't willing to bet on it, and Casey was. Casey went big, 750 sluggo bucks. Wake Forest -5. Too much for my blood.
What a shock last week. Sam Hartman, 5 turnovers in the third quarter. Or was it 6? It was a lot. I know that. And I did read an article. Hartman usually is great with the ball. In the past, I think, 2 or 3 years, he's had one game just like that, and he bounces right back. So we're rooting for you, Case.
Yeah, we are rooting for you on that one. 8 turnovers on 8 straight series, I think they had.
That's wild.
I watched about 5 of them, and then
I did too. Every time they had the ball, I was like, "What is going on?"
And we just thought Clemson had turnovers last or 2 weeks ago, but we didn't know how bad those turnover problems were. Texas is back. I hope they're back for about 3 hours, Nelson. 3 hours is all I need. I need them to be back for 3 hours. Your second pick, Locks.
I will do. All right, we'll do my bottom one here. Coastal Carolina, going back to the well. Nelson will be proud of me. I am taking them money line because I love a money line on a home dog. They're playing App State. App State's 5-3. Coastal 7-1 at home. 7:30 Thursday night. So we'll know soon. Coastal's good at home. I don't really know why they're not favored. I'm not seeing the matchup differences, but I don't know. I think it's worth a bet. So I'm going to actually put 500 on this and make a nice payday when they win for the money line of plus 130.
That would be a nice return. And I looked at this game too because I'm going to bet a money line in a minute. I need one, obviously. And you got a better number than I got. I just didn't trust Coastal after that. Did they lose to Old Dominion or something?
Yeah, and they got smoked by them a couple weeks ago too.
And that was at home too, right?
It was at home. Yeah, and I looked at those numbers. It just seemed like a fluke compared to the rest of their games. So that's what I'm justifying it with, at least. So I like home dog money line. That makes more sense to me. So the one money line loss was an away. So what do you do?
Yeah, what are you going to do? All right, 500 on that. That would be a good return. I can't do the calculation in my head.
Yeah, it's like 650 on 500.
Yeah, sounds about right. Okay, speaking of money lines, my third pick and underdogs at home.
Yep.
Missouri, not a big underdog, plus 105. I watched that game last week too as they thrashed the formerly top 25 South Carolina Gamecocks. I won't say I was impressed, but I wasn't unimpressed. They look solid, and I'm not a big believer in Kentucky as everybody else is, it seems like.
Yeah.
I think they're both mediocre, and I think the spread shows that, right? It's a close game, planned to be a close game at home. Missouri's got a decent defense. Their quarterback's not terrible. I mean, how much of an endorsement am I giving them? They're not terrible. They're decent. But I needed to find a money line. And too bad I didn't find one better than this that I thought I could trust. But I'm working my way back up to you, Locks.
Right.
I'm going to take Missouri money line plus 105. I have 500 Sluggo bucks left. I'm going to bet 250 on the Missouri money line. As we talked about earlier, Casey the Beef Cregan, who's been suspended from this show until he wins over 30% of his bets, is going to take Clemson minus 4.5. Braver than me.
Yeah.
Not even 4. Not even a 27-23 is not going to get him there. Locks.
The hook. Yeah. I can't bet on Clemson. I don't. These precious Sluggo bucks, I can't justify it. I don't know. I mean, it's like Notre Dame. Who's going to show up? I hope we're back. That, the off week should have, I think, fixed some things.
Well, we're in the championship phase. Casey's obviously been listening to Dabo. But a couple weeks ago on our text chain, you said you can't bet on Clemson. You didn't trust him, and I gave you hell, and then Clemson went out and laid an egg. And I've apologized about 20 times since. I now agree with you. I can't. And you think you got precious Sluggo bucks. I got 922 Sluggo bucks. They're all precious. And I can't bet them on Clemson. What's going to happen, though, Clemson's going to win big, and then I'm going to bet on Clemson next week, and they're going to fall on their face. Right. So, and Sylvester is confident, too, but he doesn't have Sluggo bucks on the line.
No.
He says Clemson wins by 2 scores. I think so. And Beef, he's worried. He loves the hook. Embrace the hook. Locks, who had Michigan.
The hook. 22. I'm at 22.5.
22.5, and they won by 22. The hook has to Locks just last week, as a matter of fact. Mm-hmm. So Casey's going with Clemson minus 4.5 for 500 Sluggo bucks. Locks, you're going to wrap this thing up with a surprising pick, at least in my mind.
I tried, 0-3. Let's be honest. The past 4 weeks haven't been great for me. I think I've only won 3 of these picks total in 4 weeks. I was like, I'm going to focus this week. I'm going to pick good games. First one I picked, bam, UNC minus 10. Then the line dropped to 6.5, and now it's up. And now it's up to 7.5. And I am so confused. I had a side text with JJ and Casey and Palk today, and Casey's so confident he's trying to find somewhere to bet the game. He thinks UNC smashed them. I don't know why Virginia is changing this line. And I had a number written down here, Marty. The bet on 1,500 UNC.
Ooh, I like it.
Virginia.
Well, I think the reason, and it doesn't make any sense to me, but the reason is UNC has 2 defensive starters that are out for the year.
It's Virginia.
Right. That's what I said. It doesn't make sense to me.
It's at Virginia in front of 4,500 people. That's the only thing I can think of is the defensive starters. I saw that, but that shouldn't make that big of a difference with the UNC offense versus the Virginia defense. They're just not that good. It's confusing. I'm trying not to overthink it. Clearly, as I'm talking as fast as I am, we're just going 1,500 and cross our fingers.
Yeah, I think it's a good bet. I guess Virginia's going to score 9 now instead of 6. What the heck? Have you watched the Virginia offense?
Terrible.
I think Beef could go out there and make some tackles against that Virginia offense. I couldn't, but Beef might be able to.
Yeah, I couldn't. Yeah, clearly, the twig.
Yeah, exactly. Beef, great pick. Locks. It is a good pick. I think you got some good picks. That's why you're in first place.
Hopefully.
We'll see if you can stay in first place.
I'm better. We got problems. We got money management problems if we're not staying in first place.
You do know.
I have money management problems. We all let's not bring up the old stuff.
The old stuff from 2 days ago. Yeah. All right. Well, Casey's not here tonight. He's been suspended until he gets over 30%. So there will be no exit thank yous tonight, except for thanks for everybody for listening. Locks, I'm going to watch the World Series, which just started. I appreciate your time.
Good
Beef,
luck.
Beef, safe travels. We'll see you next week, assuming you get over 30%. Good luck to Beef, except for Georgia-Tennessee game. And Locks, you'll be hearing from me on the text soon.
I got you. Let's do it.
Later.
I think we're done here.